Welcome to the One for the Road podcast. My name is Mr. K. Alongside me, as always, is C Squared. Tonight, we're joined by our very special guest, Larry Fisher, hailing from Brooklyn, New York. Say hi to all the great folks, Larry.
Hey, all right.
All
Good to
right,
be back. Excited.
great to have you. Thank you for coming on. I thought I'd start the podcast with a brief story that I wrote, and
All
it's
right.
called A True Canadian Story. So I'm
Okay.
in Niagara Falls, Canada on vacation. I'm parking my car behind a restaurant when these two white 20 something guys walk by the vehicle. They both look at me dead in the eye and get excited and start pointing and yelling. I start to wonder why when it suddenly hits me. Maybe these guys recognize me from the podcast. Maybe they're shouting, Mr. K, Mr. K. I mean, could be it. C Squared and I have been recorded 50 episodes now on YouTube for the last year and a half. This could be it. So I roll down the window and they're hollering, Terry, Terry, is that you, Terry? I exclaim, no, it's not Terry. It's John from the States. Is Terry 61 years old, known to be driving a blue Toyota Highlander with Ohio plates? Am I the missing member of your trio? The two dudes replied, no, but man, you look like a Bud Terry, and walked away. I started thinking, what kind of sick Canadian triumvirate is composed of two 20-something-year-olds and a 61-year-old dude? What role does the 61-year-old play? They don't need him to get alcohol. These guys are over 20. They can get their own. Would I be their drug connection? Maybe. Maybe.
There you go, man. Mr. K.
I would
Vitamin
most
K.
yeah,
We're going to start calling you Vitamin K, man.
I would most likely be their chauffeur, as these guys didn't look like they owned a vehicle. The world may never know. Freaking Canadians, you gotta love them. And that's the end of my quick little comic, true Canadian story.
At
Well,
least they
well,
didn't. At least they didn't think you were Neil Young or something.
Right. Terry, Terry. Like,
well, we all have doppelgangers out there in the
yes,
world.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Have you ever run into that before? C squared, where someone thinks that you're somebody else, or have you ever seen someone and thought, "Oh, have you ever like good to see you," and then you find out it's not them?
Well, so ironically enough, while we were talking about Mr. K, um, somebody else that was our former boss, me and Mr. K's former boss, and who also had a K to start his name, saw somebody in an airport that he claimed looked exactly like me, and he had like this 45-minute conversation with somebody about me in an airport with somebody else, and then came back and told us, I saw your twin and I had a conversation. I got his number, dude. And I'm like, what? What kind of bizarreness is this, man? Yeah, and that so I was looking for what we used to call him, Special K. Was Kirk's name, was
Yes,
Special
Special
K, and
K.
and and he essentially had this conversation with somebody and told him all about me. I'm sure this guy was trying to get away from him at the time.
Right, right.
Wait, do you still have the guy's number?
I don't have the guy's number from the airport, and I got Special K's number.
That's too bad. I was going to say, let's give him a
Yeah,
call.
yeah. Put them
We
on the
should have
podcast.
Special K. We should have Special K on the
Oh
podcast with
God.
Larry at some point
Yes,
in time.
yes, we
And
should.
and Larry, it would be special. I assure
Yes,
you.
yes.
I think I'm going to write a story about doppelgangers now, maybe for next week. I'll do a Max Fest story about doppelganger because it is an interesting phenomena. It is uncanny when there's somebody else out there in the world
Yes.
that looks like you, sounds like you.
Yes.
I wonder what it would be like to pretend, you know, what if, what if John had pretended to
Be Terry.
Be
be
Terry.
Terry?
Yeah. What's happening, dudes?
There you go.
How's it going? Like, for example, if it were two beautiful women, you know, you probably
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
gotten
Yeah. The
along with
story
them.
might have been different.
It
Why,
exactly.
yes.
Since you were with Mrs. K, you'd be doing the podcast with a
Right.
black eye.
Right. Or from a bunker somewhere. Because I
That's
wouldn't be in the
right.
house. I wouldn't be
Now,
allowed in the house.
so okay, so your wife was with you.
Yeah.
She was in the restaurant while I was parking the car. So
Oh,
not
because I
in
was
the
thinking, how
vehicle,
funny would
but
it be? How funny
in the
would it be
proximity.
if when she came out and you're talking to these guys and she's like, "Who the fuck are these
Right. All right. Or I take off with these guys and we go bar hopping and
Yeah,
leave her
yeah.
in the restaurant. Where the
Yeah.
heck is he? He was going to pay too. So,
I've definitely have people who look like me because I've been told a bunch of times that they saw me and then it wasn't me.
hmm,
And then, I asked them, "Are you sure it's me now?"
right, right.
Well,
I don't even know who I am.
well, and here's this. Maybe they slipped Larry into another dimension and it
Yes,
really was you, but in from a different dimension. And
I like it.
Sometimes I'll see
Yeah.
people, sometimes I'll see pictures of famous people and think I look kind of like them. And some people have told me I've looked like some actors. And then other people are like, oh my God, no.
yeah, so when I played with the Charles Hyde band, there was this girl that hung out that kept saying, "You look exactly like Charlie Sheen." And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
"What?"
Wow. Yeah. Dead
I did,
ringer.
darling, you are so sweet, but I think you
Right.
need some glasses.
Right.
You should get an eye exam and maybe your head examined.
So when I first started dating my wife, I had my hair parted in the middle and I was in my 20s. And she was like, when you do that, you kind of look like Matthew Modine in, oh God, Vision Quest.
Vision.
So I was accused of that. And then in college, some dude came up to me and was like, you look like C. Thomas Howell. I was like, really? And everybody's like, no way. I was like, I didn't think so either. So,
It's a strange phenomena. Freud wrote about it. It's part of the uncanny. It's there's yeah, I'm gonna definitely, you know what, next week we'll talk about
Well,
doppelgangers
you're
and
setting me
doubles.
up, Larry, because people kept mistaking Freud for his mother. I couldn't help it.
yeah.
Well, it's because he was wearing a Freudian slip.
So there you
Did
go.
you
That was a good
and
one.
Larry from way downtown in Brooklyn?
Man, shots returned. So, Larry, do
Oh,
you have a second chapter of the
Yes.
Serling Continuum?
Yes. So what happened is, we came up with the Max Serling Fest, and then I thought of the robot that I sent you. Maybe we could put that on the Philip K. Dick robot where he's.
Yes. I
I'm,
don't think I can do that. Let me try on my phone.
oh, okay.
I can do audio, I think, on right now if you want.
Well, and you know what? We'll just have it as a link, but
Okay.
just
Yep. Yep. I can put it as a link, that's for sure.
So, I mean, what is that? That video has to be like 30 years old, right? Where they did
Right.
this
Oh,
AI
yeah.
of Philip
Yes.
K. Dick, and he starts talking, and then what does he say? Something like, "I'll see you in the People's Zoo."
Yes.
And so I thought, I guess I should show you that one of the things that I keep nearby on my desk. I don't know if you can
We can see it.
see. Can you see the books? Anyway, I have a
Yes,
whole
yes, a
stack of
few. I
whole
saw the
stack of Philip
stack.
K. Dick books and stuff
Cool.
right by me. It kind of, I once a month I change my stacks of books that I keep on my desk, kind of like as a magnet for. So this month it's been Philip K. Dick, and I read a couple of books, reread a couple of books of his, and so I was inspired. Uh, to write the People Zoo based upon that AI. So and maybe this is maybe like the fourth draft, and it's still not quite there. But I'll read for a while, and then when you guys
Great.
start getting bored, just tell me and I'll stop.
I doubt we'll be bored, but
The
go
the
for it.
people the People Zoo. Max Serlingfest Max Serlingfest sat at the campfire like a television set that stepped out of a television set. The static and glitch. Remember, his head is a
Yeah.
TV screen. The screen face flickered in the firelight. Sometimes human, sometimes cathode ray ghost. Spammy poked the fire with a stick. C squared tuned a tiny radio to an oldies rock station. Rube sat quietly waiting for Max to tell his promised campfire story. Max cleared his throat. The night forest seemed to lean in. Tonight's campfire story, Max said, voice smooth as reel to reel tape, concerns a place that should not exist, a gated community where imagination is both passport and prison, a place called the People's Zoo, where the exhibits are not animals, they are you. And inside these gates sits a thrift store unlike any other, a place where objects don't merely sit on shelves, they whisper, they remember, they choose you. Welcome, gentlemen, to the trash stratum. Spammy blinked. C squared muttered. That sounds like a spell. Reuben felt something tighten in his chest. Max Sterlingfest, this begins with you. Reuben swallowed. Me? Max nodded and put the flashlight under his TV eye so that it would glow. Max continued his story. Four of us in this story. The four of them pack on their gear. They were having a campfire like us and head down to a moonlit road until they until they uh, until they reach a tall Gothic whimsical gates, wrought iron twisted into shapes that looked like they were trying to remember nightmares. A guard stood there like he was the president's bodyguard, assessing the four of them. Should we let them in? Are they visitors to the People's Zoo? Or have they come to settle? The guard was in his mid 60s. He had the kind of face that looked like it was left out in the sun with too many stories trapped in his wrinkles. Welcome, wanderers. Please exhibit yourself responsibly. We aren't exhibits, Rube said. Sure you're not, said the guard, looking at Rube with a strange glint. He curled at the end of his carnival mustache, trying to be whimsical, but failing in a charming way. Just buzz yourselves in. The buzzer was theatrical, a porcelain gargoyle with a button in its tongue. When Max pressed it, the gargoyle blinked awake, pupils dilating like a camera lens. A voice cracked through the speaker. Visitor, please hold still while we admire and recreate you. Recreate us, Spammy said. Yes, you've been recreated. You will be able to curate yourself like a living art piece. Okay, C squared said. Max said, I need a place to take myself apart. Any recommendations? The guard eyed Max with a bit of a nervous approachment, like he was a bodyguard for a president. Nobody ever asked for a place to take themselves apart, although you've come to the right place. The residents in the People Zoo prefer curated illusions, not internal autopsies. But it takes all kinds. The guard asked, but why do you have to take yourself apart? Something's wrong with my memory banks. The guard looked at Spammy, C squared, and Rube. Maybe you were built to have that issue. Max said, I feel like something edited me. The guard said, that's a normal way to feel in the People's Zoo. The place was designed for forgetting. And here comes your children, the guard said. Children? Spammy snapped. Well, not exactly children. They are your recreations. They are from the same cage you guys came from. They have your exact memories. Whoa, I have enough kids, Spammy said. When you leave here, they stay. They are a summary, a reconstruction, but also a raw feel to who you are. They know about homework assignments you had as kids that you forgot to turn in. They know your fears, your secrets, your shame. They know all the things you don't want to remember. What's their purpose? C squared asked. They were made to see if people who came to the People's Zoo would choose the same cage they came from or stay here. You know, this is a strange place, C squared said. It's designed to be that way. It's an initiation. The kids came alongside Spammy, C squared, and Rube. Everybody was scratching their heads, trying to understand what was supposed to happen next. What's supposed to happen next? Now that there are 8 of us here, there are many sites for you to take yourselves to. All the kids' names called C squared, Max squared, Spammy squared. I guess in C squared case, the kids should be called cubed. And actually, I got this whole idea because of you, C squared. Because I figured, okay, let's talk about duplicates. I'm already doing the story on doubles, so now, so the concept of this story, which is not perfect yet, but the idea is that you have been replicated, but as children with your memories that everybody has forgotten. You know, you know how they're all you know how breaking away from the story because I just want to explain. I want to do some mansplaining here for a minute.
Well, and so Larry, they should be if they're duplicates of C squared or Mr. K, but it in particularly C squared, they should be in hexadecimal.
Hexadecimal. Okay. All right. I will change that.
I was thinking C to the fourth
just a
power.
just a joke nobody will get, Larry.
You know, it's the kind of joke that nobody gets that everybody will laugh at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are some of the best jokes. What does it mean? What's the difference? It's hilarious.
Right.
Yeah, that's all the nerds will get it and have to
Yeah.
whisper to everybody else.
Well, if this is not a nerd story, I don't know what is.
Right.
Yeah, right, exactly. I love it.
That's a
But
great.
anyway, so I just do want to break away from the story just for a moment because
Okay.
I was trying to think of this concept, and like I've got all the Philip K. Dick books here by my side, and I was thinking about what would it be like. You know, we've had these traumas and things that have happened in our lives, and we don't even know. There's this moment in time when you get triggered about something from your childhood and you can't remember it. You have no idea why you've been triggered by something that happened. You get mad about something, you don't know what it is, but you know that it has like some old story, but you can't remember. Well, what if you had duplicate children who have all your memories, and you could ask them, why was I so upset just now? And they'd be able to tell you because they have the fresh memory in their head. That's the
Yes.
concept.
Yep.
So,
That's
That's an
great.
ironic concept, Larry, because I was involved in high school in a really bad car wreck, and I've always wanted to remember what went on, but that is not a possibility because I hit my head so hard, it wiped out all the memories.
were you driving? Do you want to talk
Yes.
about this for a minute?
Well, so I'll for 1 minute.
Yeah,
I had a '68 AMX, was
nice.
pretty slick sports car.
Yeah.
I was coming up a hill. Somebody came over the hill in a little MG midget, and those AMX's front end were like a shark sports car. So it drove right up that car and rolled a couple of times. And those things only had lap belts in them from '68. So I smashed my head pretty good and woke up like 2.5 weeks later in the
Holy
hospital. I had
shit.
no memory. Yeah, I had no memory
Wow.
of what was going on, like how the hell did I get here? What's going on? Blah blah blah.
What was it determine what happened?
Yeah, yeah. She came over the double yellow line,
Oh
and it
man.
was a head-on collision
Mhm.
Oh my
because she
God.
couldn't get back onto her side because there was somebody parked in the middle of this hill or some kind of stuff like that, dude.
Holy
So
shit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What happened to her? Do you know?
She so this made the newspaper.
Oh man.
She had leg damage and she was on a basketball scholarship to college. She was a college girl.
Oh, wow.
So I think the basketball scholarship was over, unfortunately for her. I feel bad, but the newspaper picture was four firemen picking up the entire doghouse of an MG midget and stuffing it in the front seat because all those were convertibles. So they were putting the doghouse, so it basically ripped her car in half. And
Mm.
Wow.
yeah, so
Wow.
that's crazy. She was so lucky that she didn't. They're like she was inches from being decapitated
Mm.
by the front of my car, and so that would have been
Mm.
traumatic too. But yeah, I
Wow.
can't remember. I've always tried to remember what happened that day, and it's gone.
Yeah. I'm assuming you were alone in the car?
No, I had my buddy that I was taking to high school with me, and he can remember this and just doesn't want to talk about it. He's like, "Oh my God, dude, it was like freaking so traumatic." And he got bagged up too, but not as bad as me. He
Mm.
broke ribs and stuff like
Ooh.
that, but didn't have the same head injury that I had.
Everyone was really lucky.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
were just amazed that
Yeah.
nobody got killed in that deal.
Yeah. That's quite a story.
Mhm.
It was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah, yeah. I was out of high school for 3 months, and how I came back and did all that work and was still able to graduate was unbelievable.
Wow.
And that was
It was your senior year?
it was my senior year. That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was crazy, mainly because I couldn't do anything. I was still recouping. I couldn't do anything. So that's I guess how I got all that work to 3 months worth of work done and while doing the existing work is because I was trapped at home and couldn't do anything.
Right. Right. Mm.
Yeah. Did you read books?
I did read books. I could tell you a story. I'll just tell you this real quick story. I had this, and I'm sure he's quite dead now. But I went to a private school, a Christian academy, and there was a Christian brother there named Brother Mario. And Brother Mario threw out all the English textbooks and all this stuff. And the only thing we did in his English class was read books because he loved to talk about analogies in books. So he would always pick out these books that had 8,000 analogies in it and what the analogy actually really meant. So that was
Mhm.
his shtick of all these books that had all these analogies and what did this analogy really mean?
See, I mean, this is actually kind of why I wanted to start uh, with story time in the beginning of of our podcast, because I am someone who believes that fiction, I think I may have mentioned it last week, fiction is where the real stuff comes out, that there's something about uh, fiction that is so much more true than if we were just recounting the world and events of the day. That you get to kind of like another level of understanding that isn't prioritized in our world anymore, like the way this teacher of yours did. I mean, he was very influential. I'm thinking of you,
One of the best teachers I ever had in my life. Super
Right.
good guy, super nice guy.
and it changes everything about the way you perceive the world. Like I was talking to a high school buddy of mine, and we were talking about when we were 16 years old, we had our English teacher gave us a science fiction class, and so we read all the classics, and it just I was already reading science fiction, but it just propelled me further into deeper into Philip K. Dick.
Right.
And
Well, and so from his science fiction perspective, he was a big Ray Bradbury guy, and of course, because he loved books so much and freedom and stuff of that nature, you had to read Fahrenheit, what was it,
451.
451.
451 and stuff of that nature. But I will tell you this, one of the ones that I just would have never read in my life had he not forced us, that had so many analogies in it, and you wouldn't think about this because I loved science fiction and stuff of that nature, was Shane, the cowboy movie Shane. And
Yeah.
he had uncovered so much in
Mhm.
that book about Shane running from his past and the people he was staying with, and the wife really had a crush on him, and them actually what was digging up a stump had some representation about, like, he really wanted this dude's wife, but frigging that he was running from his past, and no, and was not going to open that up. And at the end, he everybody reverts back to their past, and because he ends
Wow.
up becoming the gunfighter again to protect all the ranchers from the guys in the town, and from the hired gunmen in the town by the big money. and
Mhm.
uh and so everybody reverts back to that, and then he has to run away again. He's again running away from his past, man.
Mhm.
I think that in next week's story that I'll write, so far we have the element of the doppelganger, and running away from the past will be another element. I'm going to
Right.
start collecting the elements of this conversation and see if I can put it into the next episode.
Well, and so if I can just say, your current story that you're telling about the zoo, where they replicate into these things, into into these memories. Maybe it is things about the past that you have long left behind, but you can't leave them behind because all your doppelganger children or know all the past and keep bringing up the past or acting on the past. And
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's see what I do here. I forgot already what I do in this story. Uh, so I'm gonna continue for a little bit, and
Cool.
but I think I what I really like is actually stopping at a moment. So if you guys want to stop at some moment, just let me know,
Okay.
and I'll stop and we can continue conversation, because that's how I kind of see these stories too. Is just like they're not finished stories, works in progress. But I just am trying to. I'm, my whole thing in general is just exploring imagination and trying to help other people, uh, influence other people. I want to be that teacher that you had, C squared, and just influence people with fiction and ideas.
Right.
and so great, Larry, in that aspect of that. I think what you said a little bit earlier, where imagination is missing. So, do you even really need to have an ending to this story? Come up with your own ending. I've just transported you to to your imagination, and it's open and wide open to be able to use it in any way you can. And I think that is, I think you hit the nail on the head. That is missing in society,
Yeah,
and there is, and that's a problem.
we're
And
bringing it back.
yeah,
Yeah. And
good for you.
I recall in the 60s, particularly with Pynchon and Burroughs, they wrote a lot of stories with no endings.
Yeah, well, 100
Oh
percent.
my God, the Naked Lunch, man.
Right. And Gravity's
What a
Rainbow by
classic.
Thomas Pynchon
Yeah.
is very reminiscent of Larry's stories, I would say.
Yeah, well, I'm very influenced by Thomas Pynchon. And You know how I read Gravity's Rainbow? And this is how I read most Pynchon. I will just, when I bring the Pynchon books down, I'll just open up Gravity's Rainbow to a random page
Oh yes. Yeah.
and just
Yeah, that's the
read
best
a
way.
read a page at it. Read it like
Yeah.
it's the Bible
Right,
And,
right, right.
and see.
but I will say just one thing, and this is kind of diverges away from the imagination piece, although the independent film, which I also love independent films, and the independent film of The Naked Lunch is one of the greatest, craziest films ever. Here, if you have not watched it, you are missing one of the great independent weird films of a lifetime.
By one of our great independent filmmakers, David Cronenberg.
That's
Yeah, there
I
you
couldn't
are, man.
remember. I had to look. I was looking. I was like, man, I know who directed that.
Yeah,
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 it's
I was thinking
Cronenberg.
the same thing.
Cronenberg.
Larry's on fire. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to continue for a little bit.
Go
This is
for it.
it's so exciting to hear what you guys have read, because the stuff that, just I I mean, both Pynchon and Burroughs can be like, I have no idea what I just read, but it's really interesting,
Yes.
and maybe when I read it again in 20 years from now, I'll understand it a little better.
Right,
and that,
right,
and, that-
right.
and I'm at that age where that's really true, where, like sometimes it's 20 years between readings of the book, and I'm like, oh, wait a second, now I'm sort of getting what this book is about. So, and that's kind of how uh, I'm trying to write as well, where I don't necessarily understand what I'm saying at first.
But you take us on
and
journeys. The
Yeah,
similarity is you take us on journeys, and that's what I
well,
thought Pinchon and
uh,
Burroughs would do. Is they take you on journeys, and you don't know where you're going to go, and you can't stop reading because you want to know where you're going to go.
you had to bring up Burroughs, John. I will just say, and I hate to keep going to the Naked Lunch, but in my mind, it's a story within a story within a story. It's three levels deep. So based on what Larry just said, to understand, there is such a loose connection between the story within the story within the story. It you have to read it like five times to try and dissect how this relates, man.
Right.
right. Okay, so I'm going to start again.
Yep.
The guard reaches into his coat and pulls out a tall velvet hat. The moment he puts it on, his posture straightens, his eyes brighten, and his voice gains that carnival barker timbre. His jacket shifts color. He twirls a baton with a little bell on it. He announces, "Welcome to the People's Zoo, where the cages aren't for animals, but for ideas that got too big to roam free." Unicorns with obsidian horns and manes that drip starlight wander between black rose hedges. Batwings pegasi perch on lampposts shaped like melted violins. Shadow cats curl around the ankles of visitors, purring in Morse code. The sky is a velvet curtain, occasionally parting to reveal constellations rearranging themselves like stage actors, and the hallucinogens in the air. The guard grins, "Only the ones you brought with you." C Squared is distracted. He's been invited to play at Woodstock 2069 with Hendrix and the Banana Splits. Rube keeps poking the unicorns to see if they're real. Max, meanwhile, is staring at Little Max Squared and trying to understand what it means to have a younger version of an AI robotic self. Little Max's voice is soft but unsettlingly confident. It means I have the memories that were edited out of you. You can always come back here. The zoo keeps what you lose. Max feels he seems Max feels his seams that are glowing again, that faint psychic stitching that reacts whenever truth gets too close. The guard leads them past a crystalline building shaped like a Mobius strip. Inside, robot activists whisper over glowing manuscripts. This is the Gnostic Center, where visitors learn the secret of the People's Zoo, why it exists, who built it, what memories it collects, why some people never leave. Pamphlets sit in a rack near the door. The cover reads, "Is the People's Zoo for you? Do you often sense the world you came from is a false construct? Do you believe the true sparks lies beyond the construct? Why do you need a construct?" They go and visit the cages. There are signs for the intellectuals, tall, shimmering beings made of thought light, pacing like philosophers trapped in their own footnotes. Corporate people all lumped together in a single cage, surprisingly comfortable sitting in ergonomic chairs, discussing quarterly projections with eerie contentment. Influencers in a mirrored enclosure, constantly posing, unaware the mirror are actually a window. Archivists of lost futures, beings who collect timelines that never happened. At the center of the zoo is a Ferris wheel shaped like a cosmic gear. Each gondola is a science fiction future, a dystopian mall that stretches across continents, a retro-futurist 1950s rocket diner. Spammy goes in there. A utopian garden tended by AI bees, and Reuben walks into the trash stratum. As the group enters the trash stratum, a place where the cast-offs, the forgotten, the emotionally overcharged objects that hum because someone once cared too much or not enough. That's what this thrift store is. It's the layer of where meaning leaks off of the everyday. The group walks in like pilgrims who didn't know they were pilgrims. The trash stratum was a thrift store that knows objects and collecting is not passive. Objects are magnetic. The owner of Trash Stratum was a woman named Helen. She said, "Surround yourself with old masks, flea market talismans, haunted ephemera, and your imagination starts behaving differently, more porous, more trickster friendly, more tuned to synchronicity. Every object is a small gravity well. Some pull you toward memory, some pull you toward possibility, some pull you toward madness or revelation. You don't collect, you evaporate your psychic weather. If a person surrounds himself with the items he loves, he soon finds the items surrounding him right back, whispering, nudging, telling him stories he didn't ask for, but probably needed. The trash stratum says objects are belief containers. They are charged with human intention, halfway between worlds. They've already been loved, hated, abandoned, rediscovered. Not digitally, not virtually, physically. Material objects anchor consciousness. Pick an object you like, name its power, use it as a focus, let it charge your thinking. And I think that is that is where I'll end for tonight, just on this concept of
Very good.
objects. And
Larry, give me 1 second because you said something within the last minute. I think it was about charging items, and that is such a powerful concept because I watch a ton of videos on on like um uh on like positive thinking and projection and stuff of that nature, and that is really hits the nail on the head with charging things or charging. Maybe it's not an item, maybe it's just the universe. In your story it's an item, but maybe it is the universe that your energy is charging. And I think that's kind of like Eastern philosophy type of type of scenario where you are where uh the once you allow that energy to flow, I won't even call it charge. Once you allow that discover and allow that energy to flow, it's magic. And that's part of like music. And the music, improvisational music is kind of the physical manifestation of that energy. Writing is the physical manifestation of that energy, stuff of that nature. That's fabulous, man.
yeah, well, I think music is can be even more powerful because words can be translated, and people think they understand what words are, but music is totally vibrations. I mean,
Yes,
music is vibration. And we can talk about music and vibration in an episode. Uh,
we should.
and but that's why, like, when I hand you lyrics, I'm always I'm curious to hear how, when I hand someone lyrics that I've written, how it will translate to the musical portion. I mean, that's how my band Faculty X works, where I hand people lyrics and I have an idea of a concept for an album or a song or an idea, and then I say, okay, go with it now. Take over. You're in charge, and it'll be interesting to see what vibrations then come back to me, and then I kind of will then turn that into a music video, which may not have much to do with my initial intention of what my lyrics meant. It's a wonderful process for me to work in a situation like that, because it just allows for the imagination to continuously grow in a way that I have no idea of what's going to happen next.
It's this
Right.
feedback loop
Yeah,
that you
it's the feedback
essentially
loop.
are just a part of. I'll get nerdy for like 12 seconds here.
Please do.
Tesla
That's
Tesla
wonderful.
believed that frequency, magnetism, and energy were everything, and basically that particle it wasn't as much particle physics as it was wave physics, and from that aspect, the physical manifestation of that is when they take an ultrasound machine and bust a kidney stone with it, which unfortunately I have had done, and
What?
isn't real pleasant. However, it does in fact work.
Work.
That somebody used sound to explode a chunk of calcium inside you.
Oh
So
man.
great stuff.
Wow. Uh yeah, John, what do you have to say about this?
So I had some notes on your story.
Okay.
So is Max Jr. the cutting room floor of a movie studio? Because you said he collects all the edits. So the one thought I had was Max Jr. is a cutting room floor.
I love that so much.
That is good.
That is really
Uh,
good.
the other note I have is, are there cubes in the corporate cage? Because you described the cage, and every time I think corporate and cages, I think cubes. Have you ever seen the movie 1984 that starred Richard Burton and John Hurt?
Yeah, long time ago.
So I'll never forget it. There is a scene in there where Hurt and coworkers are in cubes. And I was like,
Right.
Jesus, even in this dystopian vision of the future, these guys are still working in cubes.
I love that.
Get,
Yeah.
Mr. K, let me say this. Do not reply back with anybody's actual name. And
Oh, I won't.
there were cubes in Larry's human corporate zoo. However, one person came in and made it look like an Art Deco Starbucks.
Yes. Yes. So
Do
yeah, that
not
was
reply. You do not need to reply back to that comment. That's an inside joke,
yeah,
Larry,
yeah.
of somebody who
I got it.
reorganized an office.
Yeah. That was probably the vision and what was going on in Larry's corporate cage in his
When I
story.
was in when I worked for Time Inc. for a decade, and I remember when they came in with the guys who were going to fix things, all the problems that were, and you know what that means.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've been there.
they they
Well,
they give you
Fix
sandwich. They
things.
give you sandwiches and a nice speech before they're before the
Right.
cuts come.
Yeah.
exactly.
Cardboard
Well,
boxes to
so
drop.
another independent film is Office Space,
Right.
and a classic one
Yeah.
where and ironically enough, Larry, the one scene that is so classic on that is where the guy essentially tells them that he essentially does nothing and he doesn't get cut. He gets promoted to be
Oh
the
yeah.
boss.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
Did we
true.
have we not all seen that in corporate America when there's
Yes, we
Oh
have.
someone
yeah. Oh
when
yeah.
there's someone who is not able to do the job, the boss is trying to get rid of them by promoting him into another division or another section so he
Yes.
doesn't have to do. And this is, sometimes, I mean, if you want to think about why things fail, this is definitely one of the reasons that the people who need to be really removed from a job in a corporation are aren't. They're promoted and moved
And
up.
ironically enough, Larry, the other thought I have about that too is the person that can sell a used car to a used car salesman is another used car salesman because they are the identical image of the other person. They're that essentially what we were talking about before. They are that identical person. So then you promote somebody into that role, and they actually surround themselves with people exactly like themselves, and that's how the entire division collapses.
This is next. This is all going to be in next week's doppelganger story.
That doppelganger story. That's
It's kind of perfect.
right. Yes.
So
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that there's enough fantasy in that.
right.
I'll figure it out.
That's right.
So your point about the dystopian mall,
Yeah,
I don't think you've seen this, but I will some homework for you, Larry. I
yeah.
would check out Kane Parsons' videos on YouTube. One in particular is called The Rolling Giant, and it takes place in a mall. It is quite unique.
The Rolling Giant.
I
What's
could put it in
the
chat.
Yeah,
Kane Parsons.
Kane Parsons.
He's also known as Kane Pixels.
Well, think about the zombie. What was it? Day of the Dead.
Yes,
The one in the mall. Is
in the
that the one?
mall. Yep, yep.
I mean,
That was a good movie.
that's a yeah,
That was a
yeah,
really good movie.
yeah. And there is something about us as a culture that I was thinking about, like, what is it about, like having, what is it that we like? And sometimes I love fast food. Sometimes, I crave McNuggets sometimes, or
Yeah, oh
there's something,
yeah.
and there is something within our culture that the familiarity of a certain food or something that just is fulfilling, and
Yes.
it's embarrassing.
Yes. I
It's
mean,
embarrassing how fulfilling certain things can be when we know, like, there's nothing worse than a cold chicken McNugget.
yeah.
This is true.
Warm beer is pretty bad. I'll tell you that.
Although, what is it? Why is that the way beer is served in Europe?
Yeah. And it's wild because in Europe, like get room temperature Guinness is actually freaking pretty good.
I was just going to say that because it's a stout beer. It's not this watery stuff.
Right.
Just like the six pack of corruption that we have in
Corruption.
the being close to Kentucky, Larry, we have a local brewery who brews a Irish stout like Guinness, and they age it a little bit in a bourbon barrel.
You
And it
mentioned it
is,
last week, and let me
yeah,
tell you
quite
something about
delicious.
me. You just mentioned the beer corruption, and mouth already watered just after the description from last week.
I'm gonna see if we can. I am gonna
We need to
see if
ship
we
you
can
some.
get a warm 6-pack and send it to you, and then you can chill it up.
Well, just give me.
I think
see
I think
Larry in August. I'm seeing Larry in August.
yeah, but never mind that. Let's see if we can get this beer corruption to be a sponsor for the podcast.
Right. That would be even better.
We're
Yes, we
just sitting
should.
here drinking beers.
Right. That would be a good podcast. Is we drink corruption throughout the podcast.
My
I'm gonna
stories will
tell
make more sense
I am
too.
going to
Yeah.
tell a quick story. Back in the day in television, and I'm sure this existed in New York, but definitely in Cincinnati, there were local stations. They had this guy on there. Every other station went off the air at midnight. If you recall that, probably not in New York, but in Cincinnati, when I was a kid, everything went off the air except the channel that he was on, and he would show old movies all night, and it was called the Past Primetime Playhouse.
Wow.
And so his spot, this is the reason I think of this. His sponsor, and his name was Bob Shreves. Bob Shreves was a vaudeville act in the 30s, and then somehow made it back to Cincinnati and did this thing. So he was a famous vaudeville guy in the 20s and 30s, and made it back. Bob had Cincinnati being a German town, lots of beer brewers here. Essentially, Bob had this was live television, and Bob had a beer sponsor, which I think I can say because they're all now bankrupt. So I think it was Burger Beer, which was a local beer in Cincinnati. Bob, one New Year's Eve on live television, drank so many beers of the sponsor, and this was pulled off of YouTube, but it used to be on there. Bob got sick on live television, but he leans behind the bar and goes, he comes up on television. He wipes his mouth and he looks at the camera. He's like, "Well, sorry about that, folks." And that is the greatest moment in live television ever. Well, sorry about that, folks.
We had a sports caster, a sports announcer, Bill Mazer, on Channel 5 on Fox in the 70s, I guess it was, and he was always drunk. And one time, it was pretty clear that he vomited, and then he rebounded quickly. And then the Mets think about what it was like for Mets announcers on television. You know, Kiner and all these guys who were old baseball hero legends, and they had to announce Met games, and they were drunk. And hilarious. And this year, the thing about the Mets being in last place is when the Mets announcers are stupendous. They're really great, and like Howie Rose is on the radio, and which I mostly listen to the radio, but I will watch games too. And because the Mets are so bad this year, they're just telling wonderful, great stories. They have to be entertainers now. It's not about the baseball. They want to talk about anything but the baseball game.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun to see how they do it. It's a magical trick.
Me and C Squared did an episode on baseball, and one of the things we really focused on was radio is so much better because that gives you the opportunity to tell these stories.
Yeah.
So I
if
will
they're a good announcer, I mean, there are some bad announcers now out there. These a lot of these new kids and stuff. They gotta listen to the old guys for a while and see what it's like, because they don't have that that quality. They don't have the experience or the, a lot of the baseball announcers were baseball players.
Yeah.
This is all going to our second
Right.
portion
Right.
of our show today
Well,
about
well,
eccentric baseball players.
and so, Mr.
What a
K,
segue! I was wondering how we were going to segue into this.
yeah, Mr. K, look up what New York team did Goldie Rapp play for? Do we know it's either the Yankees or the Mets?
Who
So
is
we're
it?
I will
bringing that
look
up.
it up.
So my great uncle, this was part of a previous podcast, Larry.
Yeah.
My great uncle was rookie of the year for either the Mets or the Yankees back in the 20s. His name was Goldie Rapp.
Well, they
So
were called the Giant. So
they were the
in
Giants.
yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot. Way back then, the New York team was
The
the
Mets didn't.
Giants in baseball, 1920.
Yeah. The
And
Mets weren't a team till 1962.
and so my great grandma lived really old. I was a teenager by the time she died. I used to go over there. She was quite the baseball player too. She actually got offered to be on the first women's baseball national baseball team and turned it down.
Wow.
But she would, the point of the story, and we had that told I told this to Mr. K. She would not watch baseball on television. She would only listen to it on the radio. And because watching it on television was just like the whole television thing was just not it foiled your imagination of her potentially going back and remembering all these great memories of her being young and playing baseball. And
Wow.
isn't that
Yeah,
crazy?
and again, the
That,
radio
I
announcers.
understand it.
Yeah, the radio announcers are so much better and entertaining. And like Larry said, they have to paint a picture for you.
Yeah.
So you can imagine being there and seeing things. The other thing we mentioned on the podcast that I've noticed when you listen to a game on the radio, there's nothing better than hearing the crack of the bat. And
Yeah.
you
Yep.
can really hear the crack of the bat on radio. You cannot on television,
Yeah.
or rarely, unless somebody hits a 450-foot homer like Schwarber did the other night. You'll hear that, but you really hear the crack of the bat almost
Yeah.
every at bat, even the fouls you can hear. And so, but yeah, just quickly, and then we'll transition. But it has to do with baseball. One,
Yeah.
in Cincy, we were blessed with old guys. We had Nuxall and Brenneman, and they were a team from '73 till like 5 years ago, and they were great and really old school and stuff like that. The other thing too is the Cubs and the Guardians announcers on the radio are hysterically funny.
Oh,
And
wow.
I've never really laughed at a TV announcer. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Howie Rose for the Mets on the radio is just, I cherish him, and this is his last year. He's retiring after this year, and everybody had hoped that for his last year, they would have a championship team. And now he just
right.
has to announce the worst team, one of the worst teams in baseball.
Yeah. All right, we
So
can go to. Go ahead, Larry.
I was gonna introduce the baseball segment.
Good deal.
Okay, and picture, if you will, a patch of grass 90 feet between bases, 60 feet 6 inches from mound to plate. A geometry so simple a child can sketch it. Gets so strange it has become a breeding ground for the peculiar, the uncanny, the magnificently unhinged. Baseball's America pastoral pastime, but beneath its sunlit surface lies a world, a pitcher uh, on the mound who can chase fire trucks. That's Waddell, a man named Rube Waddell, whose fastball was rivaled only by his fascination with chaos. Another, Jimmy Pearsall, uh, who ran the bases backwards, defying only convention but gravity itself. When he hit his 100th home run, Jimmy Pearsall, who was on the Mets, what happened was that in the early Mets team, Duke Snider was on the team, and he hit his 400th home run, and at the time, 400 home runs was a
Oh, yeah,
big
that was a
deal,
lot.
and so he hit it, and the news barely paid any attention. So Jimmy Pearsall, you guys ever hear the name Jimmy Pearsall?
Yes, yes. They didn't they make a movie with
They
Anthony
made a movie
Perkins?
about Jimmy Pearsall with Anthony Perkins,
Yep.
and and so he was very open about his mental illness. But when he hit his 100th home run, he said, "When I hit my 100th home run, Duke, they're gonna remember me." And he ran the bases backwards, not third, second, first, but first, second, third, home,
Right.
and they kicked him out of baseball for
Yep.
doing that.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it was just a great little trick. So Jimmy Pearsall is on my list of eccentrics, and then Doc Ellis. Pierce. He's just he throws a no hitter on acid, and I sent you a link. And there's a fun little documentary on him that's to watch about Doc Ellis pitching the no hitter. He didn't think he was going to pitch a no hitter, but just in general, the eccentricities of baseball players are just out of control. That guy Rube Waddell, who I mentioned, if he heard a fire truck and he was on the mound, he would go run to see the fire. He would stop
Wow.
pitching, and he was a top pitcher. He had 320 strikeouts one year in
Wow.
1904. 320. So and he would wrestle alligators in the off season.
Wow.
He was just the wildest, the most exciting. He wrestled his player. He broke a guy's leg by wrestling. He once missed a game because he was playing marbles with kids. I mean that he left. If he ran into a carnival, he might stop for a couple of weeks and go work with them. And I get, the thing about baseball back in the day when it was first starting was to be dedicated to a game that was so long, 162 games, and just all the traveling involved. You had to be a special kind of even today, to want to be a special eccentric, which makes me want to ask C squared if the reason why your grandmother didn't want to play baseball was because she had a life.
She had a life and she was dating somebody who eventually became her husband, and he was a business guy, and it was not dignified or whatever. And it's ironic, I wasn't going to tell this, but I will tell this, Larry. So Goldie Rapp was rookie of the year for the Giants in like 1920,
21,
whatever, 21. In the off
27.
season, he was a roofer.
Yeah, yeah.
so, so the rookie of the year in New York in 1921 meant nothing. It meant you got to put roofs on people's houses in the
Hey,
off season.
Yeah.
Richie Hebner of the Pirates, who was a big name back in
Yep.
the 60s,
70s.
70s. He was a gravedigger. Mickey Mantle had a job. Mickey Mantle had a salesman job in the off season. Everybody had a secondary
Yes.
job. I mean, uh, and on the Yankees there was a preacher. I think it was Steve Hamilton, who did the Folly Floater. You guys ever hear of the Folly Floater?
No.
Okay, so this is another link to put on. I'll send it to you later. He threw a pitch that was a lob that went all the way up and that came
Yep.
down, and he would throw it every now and then, and there's a guy on Detroit who either struck out or popped out or whatever from this pitch, and he went crawling back to the dugout. So I'll send you that link. But yeah, baseball players had baseball was not considered a real job. It kind of disrespected in many ways. I don't know if Babe Ruth had a secondary job, but it wouldn't surprise me about anyone just having a secondary job back then. How much money did Babe Ruth make?
I think he made quite a bit because I had heard he made, I think, close to $100,000 in the 20s. So
Oh,
that
okay.
I think equated to like a million.
Yeah,
But he
sure.
was rare. To your point, Larry, he was the exception, not the rule. And yeah, from the 20s to like 70, uh, baseball players, those jobs, that was a seasonal job. So
Right,
after baseball season was, you better get another job because they only paid you enough for the time you were playing. And
right.
if you had stopped, that meant, yeah, you had stopped earning income and you needed to keep working.
Yeah, we gotta look into that because it's an interesting. When was it the free agency or when did
Free
it
agency
become?
started in the early 70s, to your point, and that's when the real money started to flow in. And
Yeah,
that's when you started seeing the dawn of the millionaire baseball players. I remember Reggie Jackson's first contract in the 70s. I mean, all of Reggie Jackson's contracts in the 70s because of free
yeah.
agency were really high paying.
Oh yeah,
And I think Andy Messersmith got traded to the Braves in 1976 and became the first $1 million player. So that's when it really started taking off as
yeah,
free agency.
yeah. Reggie Jackson and his cars. He was a
Yes.
car collector.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's see what else do I have here about the baseball. Mark the Bird Friedrich.
Friedrich.
Back to eccentrics. Who used to speak to the baseball.
Yep. Yep.
And it must have been really weird. He used to also, I don't know if you ever saw him, but he'd get down on his hands and knees and kind of work clean the mound himself
Yes.
with his
Yep.
hands.
With his
And
hands.
yeah, he was just so, I mean, eccentricities really in baseball, it just makes so much sense in a way. Did you guys play baseball?
A little, not too much. My
Yeah,
brothers
I
and
was
my
not on a
dad did.
team, but we played a lot in school.
Yep.
It's just there's such a weird psychology and rituals involved. I mean, think about all the players that you've seen who are you know the multi, especially before now. There's the time pressure that they have, but there used to be players who would go out of the box and in the box, and
Oh God,
all
Hargrove.
the rituals, all the ritual involved with just getting ready to hit or to pitch. And then do you know the Mad Hungarian?
Yes, Al Harabaski.
Yeah, he was a true character, and he actually didn't become a really good pitcher till he did this whole thing behind. He would walk past the pitcher's mound, and he would stare at the second baseman, and he would pound the ball into his glove and turn
Yeah.
around. And it was he turned it into uh, kind of like championship wrestling. He
Yes.
was,
Yes.
and so is eccentricities in baseball. I think just the norm, and the and the diamond, the pitcher on the mound. It's like a portal to talk about yet another dimension. That's kind of why I wanted to bring it up. I wanted to bring up this the concept, the ideas of summertime fun, and even like the story I just wanted, the campfire, because that's when I remember summer times with campfires. And did you guys go to I got a cat over here.
C
Come here.
Square's the one that usually has the cat.
Yeah, no kidding. ANC Square had a lot of campfires because my parents had a little farm. And
This guy's Mr. Lucky, and I
Cute.
named him after my father-in-law who passed away. And every day he'd go to the billiard hall, and he was an engineer, and he just he grew up around his father was a pool shark, and he was a card player, and just a real hustler kind of guy.
That's
Well,
cool.
I got to tell you this quick story. So we're at this fancy restaurant, and the dude he wears a hustler T-shirt to this fancy restaurant, right? And my mother-in-law,
Come right
she
in.
she introduces me to a priest who she knows, because she's a musician who played in the church. She knows she's part of she plays the flute, and she's been in orchestras and stuff, and
Oh,
she
wow.
introduces me to this priest. And so Walt, my father-in-law, he's got his hands in front of the shirt because he doesn't want the priest to see that he's wearing a
Hustler.
shirt that says hustler on it. And so I say, hey Walt, have you met this priest John? And John, Walt, shake hands with the I made him
Yeah.
say I made him
Oh,
shake hands
man, good
so
one.
that the priest could
Shake
see.
hands with them. Look at
So the priest could
Nice.
see hustler. And I love that man, and I'll be telling some stories about him down the line. We had some really good times.
Yeah,
You
that's
guys,
cool.
do you have good father-in-law stories? Did you get along with your father-in-law? Did he make you do shit to
I
prove
got in
yourself?
law. I got along with my father-in-law quite well. He was, and tie this back in. He was a really big baseball fan, and he coached little leagues and stuff, and would umpire. So he was really involved with. So he was from Massachusetts. So he was really involved with baseball and hockey, were his passions, and he was really involved with that, and big Red Sox fan. So sacrilege for you, but you're more of a Mets
No,
fan than a Yankee.
it's
You're more of a
actually
Mets fan than a Yankee fan. So
yeah. Look, I think that the Mets and the Red Sox have a lot in common.
yes, and that
A
World
history
Series was
of mostly losing.
yeah, that World Series in the '80s was a hell of a World Series.
Which one? Which World Series?
The Mets and the remember the Mets and the
Oh,
Red Sox
86.
World Series, yeah, with
Oh my
Buckner.
God, yeah, of course.
Oh my God,
Yeah, I mean, that what a game six.
yes,
That game six reminded me so much of game five with the Knicks.
yes, yes.
That you could
Come from behind.
come back from behind so much.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were two outs, and the champagne was open for the '86
Oh
Red Sox.
yeah. Oh my God. Everybody's like, "Well, it's over," and then routine ground ball, and
Yeah,
it's over.
right. And they put in Bill Buckner. The manager put Bill Buckner in that inning for that inning. Did you know
Yeah,
that?
he was a
He was
great defensive first baseman.
Yeah, but he was injured. He was out, but he wanted
Oh,
him on the field to win
huh,
the championship.
huh.
He put him
I
in.
didn't
They
know
shouldn't be
that.
mad at Bill Buckner.
Right,
You know,
right.
people were they hounded that poor man.
Yeah, they
But
did forgive
really,
him
it should have
eventually.
been the
Thank God.
manager who was like, "No, you don't put him in."
Well, my whole thing was Stan. They put Stanley in, and Stanley blew so many saves. So I was just like, we
Yeah,
were
but
nervous with him pitching.
this was, spooky. It was just spooky stuff because Mookie Wilson getting out of the way. You know how many
Oh
times I've seen that
yeah,
inning?
yeah.
You know how many times
Probably
I've
more
seen
than
that inning? Oh
once.
my God. I mean, watch that inning and you get to understand how weird an inning that was. I mean, there were two outs in And then Keith Hernandez was smoking a cigarette in the
Oh
and
yeah,
having a
yeah,
beer.
yep,
He was already in the office. That
yep,
they had lost. So that was just a that was uncanny,
yes,
that
yes.
situation. Let me see if I have anything else. Either of you guys want to talk about anything
So, did
about?
you want to talk about your experience running for the People's Artist?
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, talk about. Sure.
Yeah, let's take it out with that, and then people can know what's going on with you, Larry, and maybe
Yep.
help out.
Yeah. So, there was this contest, and Johnny Depp presents the People's Artist, and I was like, oh, I'll enter that, and then you come to find out pretty quickly that people can buy votes, and once you know that people can buy votes, and that it's voting, and there are no real judges, I understood it as, oh, this is not a normal this is they are gathering artists together to be charity workers,
Right. Yep.
and okay, so I made merchant. A lot of people complained about it, and they have every right to be upset about it because it was not upfront.
Yes. It
It
was
was,
not up front.
look, if you want to raise money for charity, artists raise money for charity and be the biggest charity winner, and be the people's artist, and then do with what that title means whatever you think is right. But I took it as like, if I am trying to get all my friends and family and people who I don't know to vote for me, I better have something to say to go along with it. I better
Right.
have, if I'm a people's artist, let me try to treat it as a real candidate. Let me be the candidate of imagination. Let me promote. Let me come up with an idea of showing how a people's artist can be someone who endorses other people to have imagination, and kind of like what we spoke about earlier, where the imagination is kind of what's missing from our society right now, and
Yep.
and because of
Right.
that, we are all struggling. We're so preoccupied with paying bills, and worrying about things, and we get these news reports that a lot of the energy of what can be positive gets lost because we're not engaged with our imagination the way people were in earlier decades, and we're kind of instead of, and we're also, the corporate presentation of our society is, instead of encouraging and showing new people and what they're doing. I mean, think about it. When the Beatles did Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts, you could go from coast to coast in this country listening to radio stations and finding that album being played. And what I'm trying to say with that is that there was an idea that music can be out there and expressive, and there was more acceptance of new sounds. What is the sound of today? I'm sure there are plenty of new sounds that are out there, but it's not in the face of our nation the way music was just in our faces as kids growing up. We heard a lot of new kinds of different music, from jazz to every kind of musical style was promoted in some way in this country uh, decades ago, and now we're in a kind of cultural malaise of just repeating over the same sounds, and so as the people's artist, had I won, I was, I was gonna be a promotion for trying to get, but what I discovered was, and and thanks to you guys offering me to be a co-host with you guys and be guest star on a weekly basis, that that we could have discussions about the imagination and how things can start to get loose again, that we at least that we can try here on this show to show ways of opening up the imagination back to writing little stories, then having a conversation about it, and who knows, maybe and then C squared. Maybe he'll take the lyrics that I wrote for him and make a song. That there's a process here that at least it starts from an individual basis, that we at least are working towards something to help our 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 fellow countrymen who are suffering right now. We're
Right.
there
Which,
a lot of
Larry,
people. Yeah,
it is so that contest. I wish you were the winner. I've wished
Oh
you to be
yes,
the winner.
yes,
However, this has been a great experience for us, and we just really enjoy that you bring your time and bring your talent and your stories
yes.
and your imagination into the podcast. And so I just want to say that as we're
yeah.
winding down.
I mean, that's in the end, that this is really what it was supposed to, I believe, that this is it, that this is the people's hardest show, that
Right.
we are the voices, that I don't know how big we can get or how important, but I'm hoping that and put it in the comments, or did this podcast help you want to read Philip K. Dick, or rewatch Twilight Zones, or watch any of the eccentric baseball players and read a book about it, or think about it, or write a story about it? Whatever it is, please put it in the comments, because that's what we're here for.
Yep.
We're here for telling stories in order to get more stories and hear other people's stories as well. I mean, I think we're a nation in need of storytelling.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
with you, man.
yes. You had a great run with the People's Artists contest. I was so glad you made the quarterfinals. I wish you had advanced, but I just quickly, and you touched upon it a bit. It started out being what looked like was going to be what I would call a legitimate contest, where you were going to be judged more on your merits, and then it started to unravel with who can collect the most money, is what
Yeah,
it ended up starting to be like. And I mean, there's been some grumblings you've seen, and we won't go into details. There's been some grumblings, but there's also been some suggestions of maybe this should have been a TV show, and as a TV show, the people would have voted, and this money element would have been in this contest. So maybe future contests will be on television and voted traditionally like the other music competitions are, where the people vote
yeah,
and you're judged on your merits and your talent as opposed to your ability to raise money. So I'll leave it at that.
yeah. I just want to add one thing to that, is that you know uh it helped me also to say, okay, what are the, besides my friends, who are going to get annoyed with me continuously asking them, maybe it's time for me to, what groups of people are out there, what surrealist groups or whatever, art, the music, that a lot of the music from Faculty X is metal based. You know, where are the real fans? And we're in this situation in this country because the promotion of music and art isn't really out there. You have to self promote. But who are the people who are really my audience and fans besides my friends who are just maybe just voting for me because they like me? Who are the
Right.
real fans out there? And it made me really look to see what groups are out there, and so I've really grown a base where I have like 20,000 people looking at my stuff every month, and hopefully I'll just keep growing it and promoting this podcast on a weekly basis or a couple of times a week to groups that I think would be interested, like the Twilight Zone group or whatever
Right.
groups I think of, and I'm really happy with even the way things went down. Maybe
Good.
even more so than if I had won it all. I mean, I think I could have done some things had I won it all, but I think I can actually even do had I won it all. And had I won it all because I got new groups and, because I work at Trader Joe's, there's a lot of people there. And because I came from the East Village punk scene and I know a lot of people there, so I have a lot of group basing people who are supporting me. But there would have been this idea that I bought the contest. But now, just with the podcast and doing things this way, it's more. See, either we'll see how far we can take it, how many people are going to be interested in the stories that I tell, the conversations that we have, the stories that you guys will do, the music that C Squared will do. It has this way of being from the ground up. And I think
Right.
that is, if we can show people that you can start from nothing, or start from very little, except for, we have a historical basis. But if we can get young people who have never done anything before and get them to figure out how to communicate to other people their specific interests of what they have and work together in groups, I think that would be how wonderful
Right.
for us to be that way, and think about how our kids would actually maybe start liking us again.
Right. Right. And I thought the contest provided you with a lot of great exposure, and you
Yeah.
probably you exposed people to your writing and your art. And I'll tell you, we'll close on this, is out of all the artists I followed in the contest, you provided written content with your essays and your stories that were just fantastic and
Oh, thank you.
really funny a lot of times.
Thank you
So
so much. I really appreciate hearing that.
I think the contest was a really great platform to expose your talents in not only art but in writing. So, and that's great, and it can only grow from there.
Thank you. And I just want to say, now that we have that platform, I'm hoping that everybody will follow me as we walk the plank
Yes,
together.
yes. Okay, let's put a bow on this. You can email us at one for the road podcast at gmail.com. We have a website. It's onefortheroad.net. And of course, the spelling is 14 the road. Uh, you can subscribe and like us on YouTube. We are on various audio platforms, some of which are RSS, Podbean, Amazon Music, Apple Music, and the greatest of all, Spotify. For C Squared and Larry, I'm Mr. K. Have a good week.
Thanks, guys.
Take care,
All
everybody.
right.